So I'm going to spend about 30 minutes talking, and then you guys are going to spend about 20 minutes workshopping, because I want you to think about the material and then design some programs, okay? I don't want you to just leave here and go, whoa, Dan gave us a whole bunch of information. I'm not sure what to do with it. I want you to actually design some programs together and do it fairly quickly, okay? The biggest thing I think I found in the last 5 years is a lot of trainers overthink programming. It's great to think a lot about programming, it's great to design great programs, but I don't think you have to overthink it and spend hours and hours and hours programming. I'd rather you spend hours and hours training clients and changing their lives and not feeling frozen by designing programs, okay? So we're going to do some work together here. I'm going to give us some foundation first, 7 key principles that I want you to be thinking about when you start to design programs here in a few minutes. So if you've never seen the functional aging specialist material before, that's fine. I'm going to give you the overview here in about 5 minutes. So here's our 7 principles. Assess, prioritize, and train all components of function. So yeah, we're going to do strength training, but we're also going to do power, we're going to do balance, we're going to do agility, we're going to try to train every component of function. That's really hard to do in 30 minutes. It's not so hard to do in 3 sessions of 30 minutes across a week. And if we're going to train a client for 30 sessions over 10 weeks, we can really do it. Make purposeful decisions for every aspect of training. So I should be able to walk up to you, Jeremy, and say, why are you doing this exercise in the 12th minute with Sue? That purposeful, right? Not, well, I did it with Bob 2 days ago and it worked pretty well with Bob, right? No, like you have to have a purpose for every exercise we do with that particular client, okay? The purpose might be because I wanted to make them laugh. The purpose might be because I wanted to work on balance. The purpose might be I needed to teach them this movement, so on Friday we could get to that movement. Integrate movement patterns, train in all 3 planes. So I want to challenge you, just think about if all we train is the sagittal plane, right? The next time you get in and out of your car, do it in the sagittal plane only. Try to get on and off your airplane in the sagittal plane only, right? And then we have people come in and we train sagittal plane, sagittal plane, sagittal plane, sagittal plane, right? And they're like, I'm still having trouble getting in and out of my car, right? I'm still having trouble reaching for stuff. Include isolation type exercise movements as supplementary and complementary. So we don't throw them out, right? I'm not looking for a 3-dimensional bicep curl, right? Some people start to design that, right? We still use them, but they're supplementary, not complementary, right? Number 5 is probably my favorite. If you forget everything else, the only thing you take away from my session is number 5. We've done a huge service to our clients. Perform exercise movements in a seated position only when absolutely necessary, or it serves a specific purpose. The other way of saying that is train on our feet, train standing, right? How many people come to you and say, I'm having a lot of trouble falling out of my couch or my chair, right? They've got that mastered. We don't need to be training them in a chair in most cases. Order the session according to energy level with more complex, complicated, multi-joint earlier, less complicated later, right? So chair-based activities might be the last half of the session when they're too fatigued to do agility work, right? I might do a seated leg press or a seated chest press at the end of the session. Okay? And lastly, maximize client safety. Doesn't do us any good if we perpetuate the myth of trainers hurting clients. So we've got to make sure we're keeping clients safe. Okay? So functional program design, when we're thinking about it at the Functional Aging Institute, we're primarily thinking about these 6 core areas. Now here's the thing, no individual is the same, right? So some people need more of one area than another. Right? So there is no magic perfect program, there's no magic exercise, there's no magic design. People are like, well, give me the perfect workout. I'm like, well, I can give you the best workout, but guess what? You're going to need a different one next week and a different one a month from now and a different one for a different client, right? So we've got to prioritize, and then we've got to try to address all of these, right? So I don't care if someone comes in and their primary need is strength, right? They can't get out of a chair. We still have to do some balance, some mobility, some cardiorespiratory, right? We have to be doing these other things. And the cognitive emotional for some people is huge. I'll give you an example of B. B came into us. She actually had pretty good lower body strength. She had pretty good balance. She had no confidence She didn't trust that she could do anything without falling. So what did she do when she came in, right? She's like, well, I don't want to do it, right? We're like, B, take a big step, right? You can do it. For her, it was confidence. The cognitive emotional was huge. She had fallen in her neighborhood, and it totally wrecked her, right? She's like, I don't feel safe walking to church. I don't feel safe walking to the bank. I don't feel safe walking to the grocery store. So we have to think about that as well. I'm not going to have time today to get into corrective exercise strategies. Evan Osar knows a lot more about that stuff than I do. But obviously, when we're designing workout programs, we have to think about dynamic warm-up and mobility and stretching and corrective exercises and all these other things that, of course, assist us to give someone a good workout, okay? We have to think about progressive overload. This is a big mistake, right? We set up a workout, and we're not thinking about what's the next step, right? What's next Monday look like? What's the next Monday? What's 10 weeks look like from here? Your clients are coming to you to get better. They're not coming to you to stay the same, right? Do you all agree with that? So we have to overload them, even if it's baby steps. So here's just some typical warm-up things. We're not going to do this today. So some of you are going to design programs, and immediately people are going to go right to their favorite warm-up drills. Skip that. We've already done it. You've done the best warm-up, okay? Pre-exercise mobility drills. Emily Splickle teaches short foot drills. There's hip and spine and shoulder warm-up things we need to do. All sorts of things we've got to do just to be ready to start working out, right? We want to do a dynamic warm-up, get the blood flowing, get the heart rate up. Then we're going to design some multi-component training. And then, of course, we want to have a flexibility program too. We're not going to cover that today. But this would be a typical exercise program structure. Some clients might be able to do their pre-exercise mobility drills in 5 minutes. Some might take 15 minutes. Some need more time. Some come into the facility. They're going to spend 10, 15 minutes getting ready to train with you. That's the ideal. But what's the real? Right? They show up 2 minutes late. I'm like, great, we haven't done all the pre-work, but now we're going to try to do the best we can. Okay? So there's the ideal, and then there's the real reality. More mobility drills for the foot, the ankle, the hip, the spine, the shoulder. So this might be the first 10 minutes of your training session if this is what these clients really need. And that's totally fine. Right? I thought Jeff did a great job showing, that toe lift exercise is actually really important for a lot of people over 70. It just wasn't shown in a very inspiring way, right? So we need to do some of these mobility drills at the foot and the ankle. Ankle pumping, circles, standing calf raises, all these things are great mobility drills. So I want to walk you through different levels, and I want you to think about, how do I train 6 people, 3 of whom are frail, 3 of whom are transitional frail? That's what I want to be thinking about today. How do I train people at different levels at the same time in the same group? So if we're thinking about the frail people on our spectrum, we know we're going to have some sarcopenia. We know we're probably going to have some dynapenia, some loss of power. We're going to have fall risk, right? I mean, these people are in the frail category. We're probably not starting out with box jumps, right? We're just glad that they made it from the door into the session, right? They're coming in with their cane or their walker. We want to move their fall risk, right? Poor basic mobility, poor gait, lots of health conditions in a lot of cases, right? Congestive heart failure, osteoporosis, osteoarthritis, higher potential for some cognitive issues, lower energy levels, definite higher risk of injury in your session. And you should always, always be thinking about, what situation am I putting them in where they're at risk for a fall in this session? Right? So we're not going to turn them loose on an obstacle course unspotted. We're going to do obstacle courses with them. We're going to do challenging balance things with them, but we're going to do it in a way that we know we're there, or there's a wall there, they're not going to fall. Okay? Transitional frail, or pre-frail, they're going to have some sarcopenia and dynapenia, right? I mean, these are not the most powerful older adults. They're going to be moderate to high fall risk, poor to adequate basic mobility. They're going to have much more gait mobility. They're probably not using a walker. Might be using a cane, but probably don't really need it, right? They're those people that, I think you could probably chuck your cane. They're like, oh yeah, I just use it just in case, right? Just in case of what, right? Like a major rainstorm, or it gets dark at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, right? It's sort of just their It's a security blanket, right? Right? They're using a cane as a crutch, what you just said. They're going to have some comorbidities, but they're certainly not as sick as the frail, okay? Definite risk of injury if we train them too hard too early. We have to be thinking about that. We want to get to training them harder, but we got to start out soft and easy. And then let's look at the independent. Lost my mic, Austin. There we go. Okay. Typically, we're going to have some dynapenia, right? They're going to have some loss of power. Maybe not as much sarcopenia. Maybe not as much loss of muscle mass. Certainly some, right? They're not as strong as they were 30 years ago. But that's probably not as significant as their loss of power and speed. They're going to be typically in the low fall risk category. We might have some in the moderate. This is always surprising, right? People totally independent. They think they're healthy. Their balance isn't that good. They're literally one fall from a major life event, right? They have one fall, they break their wrist. They have one fall, they break their hip. Their life changes dramatically. They go from independent to frail just like that, right? And they thought they were doing just fine, right? But they're actually closer than they even realize. They've got much better gait ability. They're going to have low to moderate endurance. These are not fit people. They're in that independent quadrant, right? These are not exercisers. Wide range of morbidities. Some are going to have some are going to have none. Probably some osteoarthritis, probably some high blood pressure. What's the best thing for that? Exercise, right? They're going to be cognitively sharp, much lower risk of serious injury. These are the people that walk in completely independent. They want to get a good exercise program, okay? Then we have the fit category. Now, if you notice, we break out the independent into two groups, and we break out the fit into two groups. We actually believe the lower independent to the fully fit is the group that Jeff Weiss was talking about this morning, that 75% of our active aging older adult population. And they range widely, right? From fully fit people like my dad, who literally would go out and play softball with you right now if you asked him, right? Like, oh, there's a game going on, can I get on a team, right? I couldn't get my team to come to the National Senior Games. Is there one I can join, right? He's fully fit, can do anything, right? And if you offered it to him, he probably would, right? He always signs up for 3 softball teams. I always tell him that's one too many. Every summer, he's like, hey, can you play for me on Monday night? I have 2 other games. I'm like, Dad, I did not sign up for your softball league, and I'm not your fill-in. He's in the fully fit category. The semi-fit category is going to be a little bit bigger in the fit category. These are people that they exercise, they work out. They're probably not quite at that level of downhill skiing and water skiing barefoot and doing some of these really high fit activities, right? So big group here, and then the higher independent and the lower independent, obviously those vary, right? That higher independent group, those are our walkers, our hikers, people that are active but not really exercisers, not fully fit. And then we have the lower independent, right? And we picture the lower independent, sort of that grandma cooking at home, right? She's still hosting Thanksgiving, but she's literally one illness, one injury, one fall, one incident from being in the frail category. Right, like my dad's fully fit. If he goes out and tears his hamstring running the 50, he's going to completely come back from that. He's not going to go from fully fit to frail, right? So what are the impairment level factors that are vital for function? So your client is right here, right? They're standing in the middle. They're saying, I want to function better, I want to move better, I want to perform better, I want to do whatever it is I need to do in life better, right? I want to go to the Himalayas, like Martin Pisani just did, right? I want to function at my peak, whatever that might be for me at this time, right? So we've determined that means you need some musculoskeletal. That's where strength is. Strength is vitally important, but it's only one piece, right? Neuromuscular is huge, right? Doesn't do me any good to be strong if I can't move, right? I have to have some agility. I loved that Jeff shared about pickleball. You have got to tap into pickleball. I got a client recently from pickleball. The husband had been training with us. Andy had been training with us for about 6 months, maybe 8 months. They go to Florida for about 3 or 4 months. one downside of Indiana is snowbirds. I lose my clients for 3 or 4 months. They go somewhere to Florida, and they took up pickleball. And he actually got his wife to play, and they fell in love with this game, and now we're enjoying being active together. And what he realized was he had been training at our studio, and he was much more prepared to play pickleball. He said, I'm not trying to say my wife's not an athlete, but she just doesn't move that well. Can you help her with that, right? I said, we can absolutely train her neuromuscular function. That's not how I said it, right? He's like, what is that, right? I said, we can absolutely train her coordination, her agility, her ability to move. We can absolutely train that, right? He was like, oh. He's like, all I thought we were doing here was strength training. I'm like, well, did you notice how much better you move? He's like, yeah. I'm like, we've been training your agility and your movement quality and all of that, right? So she became a client. I don't think she had any interest in training with us, but she wanted to be better at pickleball. In fact, when she came in, she was like, do you think I could move, when he wasn't in the room, do you think I could move well enough I might be able to beat him in one of our... I said, probably if you train long enough with us, right? The cognitive emotional piece is huge. I'm not going to really touch on that much. Ryan is going to hit that in his session. Mobility, balance, and cardiorespiratory. So I want you to be thinking, when you're designing programs with each other here in a few minutes, I want you to be thinking, wait a minute, how are we hitting at least 4 different domains in a training session, right? If you can hit 5, that's great. You might even be able to hit all 6. Some of them overlap, right? I can do a strength task that overlaps into balance, that even overlaps into confidence, right? Those are great. Focus areas differ depending on our level, right? If you have a fit client come in and you throw them into a frail training program, do you think they're going to come back? If you have a frail client come in and you throw them into a fit training level session, are they going to come back? They might not even survive the first session, right? I tell most of my clients, we don't really kill you till session 5. Because at that point, we have you hooked and we know you're coming back. So when we're doing small group personal training, we have to think about how we group and schedule our clients. You can train frail and transitional frail together, maybe even lower independent. But then we have to have a next level group, right? We have to have our higher independents with our lower fits. And our fully fits, kind of those crazy fitness junkies, are probably going to have to be in the advanced group, right? So we can't just throw them all in together necessarily. So here's an example of some training programs, and then I'm going to show you guys how we're going to grid this out so you guys can do it together. So here's a level 1 low function. This is a frail person. They've not been exercising. We're going to start with some chair stands. If they can, we're going to try to get a little bit of speed, maybe a little bit of power, right? Like, can you get out of that chair as fast as you possibly can, Ryan? And it might look exactly the same as they did just doing a chair stand, right? But we kind of want to see how much speed can they give us. Then we're going to do a heel-toe tandem walk. Then we're going to do a standing 2-arm chest press. Resistance bands are great. Kaiser cable machine's great. Lots of ways to do that. Then we're going to do a single leg stand, eyes open. Just stand on one foot for a few seconds for me. Then we're going to see how long they need to regroup. Keep hitting the forward instead of the laser, right? So that gap might be 30 seconds. For a higher level one, it might be 2 minutes. It might be, I really need to sit down and catch my breath. It might be, I need to go to the bathroom. Because guess what we just did for about 5 minutes? Right? We agitated their whole system, and now they're like, oh, I didn't realize I need to use the restroom, right? You better build that into your programming, because at some point, somebody's going to need to go to the restroom. This is a frail client. Then we're going to go on to a standing 2-arm tubing row. Then we're going to do a wide walk, right? We did a skinny walk, tandem walk. Now we're going to do a wide walk. Straddle that log as wide as you can, Mrs. Jones. Then we're going to do step-ups, alternating legs. This could be lower body strength. It's definitely going to be cardiovascular. These might be the most stairs they've climbed in a long time. They're going to be gassed. So then we're going to do something really intense after the step-ups, right? We're going to do little ankle sways, right? Just sway at your ankle, right? Give them a chance to recover. Again, remember, this is frail client, right? Frail to pre-frail. A little break, get some water. All right, you ready to go again, Mrs. Jones? Now we're going to do a side step with a reach. Then we're going to do a 3-dot stepping drill. Then we're going to do a figure 8. Now we're getting into a cognitive task, like you want me to draw, yeah, and I want it to be a good figure 8 on the floor that you have to walk, right? Calf raise on a floor step, a little bit of a break. Oh my goodness, we're going to get you down on the floor. But if you notice, I haven't gotten them down on the floor yet. And I'm only getting them down on the floor at the end, and they only have to get back up one time, and that's to go out the door, right? I'm not going to get them up and down several times. And I'm probably going to get some resistance right here. Like, do I really have to get down on the floor, right? And I might not get them down on the floor on the first session because I really want them to come back in 2 days, right? So I might modify that and get them on a table or a platform where they feel a little more confident, right? But eventually, in the first couple of weeks, we're definitely getting them down on the floor, and we'll give them as much help as they need to get back up, even if it's a group of 5 or 6, okay? So that's a level 1. Notice what a level 2 looks like. We're going to jump quite a bit now as we get into that lower independent and independent category. So now we're going to do a little split stance squat. We're going to do a step over a dog front and back. How many people have fallen because their dog tripped them? Right? Lots and lots of people, right? Did your dog trip you or did you not step over it? Right? And a lot of times we step over it with the front foot, and then we catch it with the back foot, right? And we do that with parking curbs all the time. I don't know where the parking curb just reached up and grabbed me, right? It's like, well, you stepped over it, and it's really hard to recover from a fall if our back foot gets caught, right? Because what do we have left to catch ourselves with? Not much, right? So we're in trouble. So we got to step over things. Push-ups. People are always like, how do you have a lower independent client do push-ups? What's the best way to start a client doing push-ups? On the wall. You guys all know. Yeah, on the wall. We go from the wall to a table or a platform to a box to eventually down to the floor on your knees to eventually a standard push-up, right? Monster walk, that can be any variation of a giant wide walk, your Frankenstein impression, whatever you want. Standing reciprocating tubing row, a little more complex than just our standing 2-arm row. A lot more cognitive demand with, whoa, wait, I'm going right and left at the same time. Sleeping dog side to side. Standing reciprocating chest press. Crossover walk, so a little bit harder than the tandem walk. Now I'm crossing over, okay? Standing alternating lat pull down, heel toe rocks, side step ups, side lunge, and then we're going to finish with our floor work. Notice I haven't gotten them up and down much at all. This is level 2. We haven't gotten to a higher fitness level where we can get up and down a whole bunch, okay? But now I'm doing a little bit harder floor work, right? Doing a bridge with some marching, a bird dog with some alternating limb movement. It's getting a little bit harder, okay? All right, I'm going to go through level 3 pretty quick because I want you guys to start working. Front back lunge, a lot more dynamic, right? Now we're getting into that fit category, right? These aren't the crazy super fit junkies, but this is higher independent to semi-fit. Bushwalk. Everybody know that one? I'll demonstrate it. Austin's not in the room. I don't think he's video recording this. So this is a dog peeing on a bush, right? So bushwalk, standing 1-arm, tubing shoulder press, single leg stand. Now we got eyes closed. 30-second plank. So we're hopping down on the floor. We're going to do a 30-second plank. Notice I only have 2 breaks in here. Now, depending on this fitness level, I might repeat all 5 of those again because I know I can get through this whole workout twice in 30 minutes, right? So I might do all 5 again, then take a quick break, go into a standing 1-arm tubing row, karaoke, standing 1-arm chest press, walk the line on your knees, on your toes. That's pretty hard to do, right? Knees up, tiptoes, walking the line. So we got higher functioning people here. 30-second plank. Another series. I love the single leg airplane. Right? All kinds of things we can do with that. We can add a cognitive task to this, right? Bank left. Bank to your other left. All right? 30-second plank. All right, let's look at level 4. These are designed for 30 minutes. Yeah. So what I usually tell people is you can take this workout and make it 20 minutes if you want. You might not be able to get through all this in 20 minutes. You can definitely get through all this in 30 minutes. You can probably turn this into 40 minutes just by doing some of these twice. You can certainly turn it into an hour by doing everything 2 times or even more, okay? Back reach to front lunge, backward crossover walk on your toes. That is really hard, okay? So I'm on my tiptoes. It's definitely hard in dress shoes. And I'm going to cross over my line every time. That's tough to do. And guess what? No one over 70 likes to go backwards in any context, let alone on their tiptoes, crossing over. That's hard. Power squat, single leg stand, eyes closed, body leans. You want them to move around. 30-second marching plank, so you can introduce harder levels of planks now. Rear lunge with a one-arm row. These things should start to look like your workouts. You should almost go, this is harder than the stuff I'm doing training myself, right? Power punch with tubing, ladder drills, all kinds of ladder agility drills you can do, 30-second plank rolls, crane kicks. That's supposed to say single leg airplane, eyes closed, right? We got to fly the plane, radar controls only, no vision allowed. That gets really interesting, okay? All right, now we're going to get into groups. You're going to have to work together. So look around, we're going to get into groups of 3 or 4. When you're scaling movements, when you're thinking going from level 1 to level 2, because what I want you to do is to design a workout, but at the same time think about, how would I make this a little bit easier and a little bit harder? How could I quickly go, wait a minute, I didn't know 4 hip replacements were about to walk in. How can I make this a little bit less intense, right? Or I didn't know 4 people more fit were about to walk in, right? So how can you easily make it a little bit easier, a little bit harder, right? So ways you can regress, ways you can progress, okay? So here's what I want you to write down. Use your notepad, grab your FAI booklet. You have to come up with at least 6 exercises. You could easily come up with 12. If you get in a group of 4, each of you have to come up with 3 exercises. Just name your favorite 3 and figure out which domain you want to put them in. This really isn't that hard. You guys could probably leave here with a dozen workouts designed if you start working together. So musculoskeletal, neuromuscular, balance, mobility, cognitive, cardiovascular fitness. Now you've got subdomains of each of those. I'm not necessarily worried about the subdomain, but you might say musculoskeletal, I want to work on power, or I want to work on strength. Balance, I want to work on postural control strategies. Mobility, I really want to work on ankle foot. That's fine. If you want to geek out on the subdomain, what's the movement pattern, right? The pattern is actually, tell me the exercise, right? So you might say muscular strength, I want to do a lower body strength, I want to do a squat or a chair stand. That's the pattern. And then level 1, level 2, level 3, right? How do you make them different levels? Is this making sense? You see how this works? Okay. So this is kind of then what the workout would look like, right? Level 4, level 3, level 2, level 1. I've got a movement pattern that's a push, a movement pattern that's a pull, a hip, a knee. Okay? So I'm going to go back to the grid, and I want you guys to start working for about 12 minutes. Okay? So working groups of 3s or 4s, that usually works best. All you have to do is come up with a couple exercises each, and boom, all of a sudden you have a functional workout. So here's another way to see your 6 categories. The subdomains are the smaller ones underneath there, right? So musculoskeletal, you've got 5 subdomains. All right, you got about 5 more minutes. So here's a quick example from the group in the back, right? They asked about the whole subdomain thing. I said, well, it might be musculoskeletal, and the subdomain could be power, but it might be strength depending on the exercise, right? So we might have a chair stand and say, well, gee, for level 1, it's probably going to be strength. But by the time we get to level 4, it's going to be power, and they're going to be chair standing with a 20-pound medicine ball that then they have to throw up in the air, right? So the exercise is a chair stand, but it might even change from strength as the subdomain to power depending on the level, okay? Yes. Yep. So you might pick an exercise and say, hey, this is the best exercise for level 2. How would you make it level 1 and level 3? Okay. All right. I need 2 volunteers from 2 groups to go to the mic. These are usually the most brave and adventurous ones that jump up quick. But I want to hear from your group. I don't care if you didn't finish. You might need 15 more minutes. But I want to hear what your group came up with. Come to the mic and share so everyone can quickly hear how quickly you can design something. Okay? All right, we got one volunteer. We need one more. It's Suzanne, right?
Yeah.
All right. From Michigan?
Yes.
All right. Okay, let's hear what you got.
Okay, so we did, for muscular strength, the push-ups.
Okay.
Level 1 wall push-up. Level 2, more of a tabletop, again, depending on their ability.
Okay.
Level 3, into a knee push-up, or, on their knees, or even like a higher step. And
Okay.
level 4 is on the floor and craziness.
All right, great. You got
Want
anything
more?
else?
For neuromuscular, we are using a ball. So level 1, catch the ball in 2 hands, 1 hand, seated, and then maybe they can cross over.
Okay.
Level 2 would be standing, doing the same thing. Level 3 would be on 1 leg.
Whoa,
And
all
level
right.
4 would be lateral hops, maybe doing math at the same time.
Lateral hops while doing math while playing catch?
Yes?
Sheesh. Okay, that's pretty hard stuff. All right. I like it.
Talk to Ryan.
Yeah, somebody's been to Ryan's session. Yeah.
All right, we did cardiovascular, mountain climbers. So level 1, hands on the wall, high knees, slow temp, just bringing the knees up. Level 2, elevated forearm plank, bench, box, whatever you have. Get up to a more moderate temp. And then level 3, full plank on the floors, maybe adding some directional cues with a higher tempo.
Okay. You got anything else?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's hear some more.
Okay. We did gait, lateral step. So level 1, fingers on the wall, doing that big step up over the bush.
So gait, are you meaning, so this was your mobility?
Yes.
Okay, great.
So fingers on the wall for level 1. Level 2, high step, maybe with an arm reach. So reaching up and across or down. And then level 3, high step with a hip drop.
Okay. All right, great. All right, thanks. So you guys were doing, I walked around, you guys are doing great work. And you kind of have to know your clients. A lot of you might not even have level 4 clients. So you really only have to design for level 2 and 3. For the most part, most of your clients are going to be level 2 and 3. You're not going to have as many level 1 really frail clients, right? You'll have some, but not as many. Most of your programs are going to be designed on level 1 and 2. How do I make it a little bit harder? How do I make it a little bit easier, right? For the same group at the same time, right? And then the confusion is, wait a minute, and your clients will even be confused, right? I talked to this group over here. They're like, well, wait a minute. Is this really a neuromuscular exercise? Well, if your goal is reaction time and coordination, right? Like they talked about doing a marching drill back and forth to a 1, 2, 3 count and then reacting. I said, well, then next week we could change that to a cognitive task by having people call out colors as you're showing them to them, or they have to start and stop on command. Guess what? They're still getting the neuromuscular piece, but now the focus is the cognitive piece, right? Then you bring in somebody like Ryan and some of his cognitive stuff, and all of a sudden we've really complicated it. So I want to do a quick cognitive game with you guys. So go ahead and stand up. You got to partner up in twos. We got about 4 minutes left. Ideally in twos. Everybody needs to get a partner. Fitness people are the most social people until you ask them to get into partners of twos. Like, come on, let's go. Everybody got a partner? Okay, this is a really hard game. Some of you have probably played it before. You got to be able to count to 3. 1, 2, 3, okay? So you turn and face your partner, okay? So I'll use Christian and Rosa as examples. We'll watch them first, okay? So Christian's gonna say 1, and then Rosa's gonna clap her hands, and then Christian's gonna say 3, and then Rosa is gonna say 1, and then Christian's gonna clap his hands. So the clap is on 2, and then it's 1 and 3, okay? All right, nobody's got it. Okay, Christian will say 1. We'll do it really slow. Christian, you say 1. So that was 2. Comes back to Christian.
3. 1. 3.
All right, they got it. Okay, they got it. So we're going 1, 2, 3, back and forth. But the two is a clap. Okay, the 2 is a clap. All right, ready? Go. 1, 2, 3. You can... But you keep going, you keep going. All right, stop for a second. Okay, so it's 1, clap, 3, 1, clap, 3, 1, 3, 1. So, of course, you're thinking, wait a minute, when does the clap come? Okay, now, I know you guys had trouble with that. We're going to get harder, okay? 1, 1. So the 3 now is a stomp. I don't care if you jump or stomp, okay? 1, 2 is a clap, 3 is a stomp. Go. All right, let's do one more level, okay? So we could make this a more powerful activity, right? We could add more to it. It's definitely a cognitive task. I've never seen so many people struggle to count to 3, right? You're like, why is this so hard? So 1 is still gonna be 1, okay? But you're gonna raise your hands, right? So you're gonna go 1, okay? Person going 2 is still clapping, okay? And then 3 is gonna be a jump, okay? So it's not a stomp, but it's a jump. So we're adding power to it, okay? All right, so you got that. 1 is up, 2 is still a clap, 3 is a jump, okay? Go. So you should say 1, clap 2, jump on 3. Say 1, clap, jump. Yell out the 1. 1 as you jump. Do that all by yourself. Amanda's doing it all by herself. All right, that's great. Okay. So, we could do that a variety of ways, right? I mean, at the end, we added essentially power to it. We could be doing strength. There's a lot of different ways. Think how much harder it would get if you had a group of 3 and you were going 1 through 5, right? Like 1 to 3 was really hard, right? And if you remove the 1 and you turn that into like a snap or something else, right, then it even gets harder, right? So 1, 2, 3, great cognitive task. You can add other components to it, right? Okay. So, I think I've only got one slide left here. So this is just kind of a big grid of 7 different movements, 4 different levels. Okay, so as you start to think about your programming, when you program an exercise program for a bunch of clients, you might very quickly go, wait a minute, I can make this a little bit easier for Sue who's coming in later today, right? I can make it a little bit harder for Jim who's coming in tomorrow, right? And all of a sudden you have tons and tons and tons of workouts. And I would love for you guys to share them like we've done. Certified Functional Aging Specialist Facebook page. Here's one somebody put in, right? 5-minute sun salutations, 3-minute light jogging around the studio, a squat variation, a lunge variation, 7 minutes, kettlebell swings, battle ropes, running back and forth. This is obviously a level 3, right? Upper body stretching, right? So share some of your stuff in the certified page. If you're not certified, it's time you get certified. How to get certified? It's online. Which one you want? This one? Okay. How to get certified? You just hop on our website. It's all online. We do live workshops around the country. If you want a live workshop, but you don't need one, you can do the whole thing online. We take you through the 22 videos. Some people get really disappointed when they come to a live workshop. They're like, this is what I learned in the 22 videos online. Yeah, it's the same course, same material. So you can do the whole thing online, get certified. Once you get certified, you got your picture of that? Can I move on? Okay. Once you get certified, then you can get in the Facebook group and start sharing workouts with each other, right? And if you're like, hey, I've never trained someone with a hip replacement, a knee replacement, a shoulder replacement that can't get down on the floor but wants to do, right? And there will be someone in there that say, oh, well, I've done that. Here's 3 workouts that work great, right? And you guys can share, okay? All right, that's all I've got for you. Have a great lunch. Thanks so much.